Good morning. We are back on a Monday morning with some sports talks. We wrap up the weekend of the NFL preseason, and it was a good one. We saw a lot of rookies play, only a few notable first rounders sat out, but let's jump into it. Uh, the lead story, a lot of people are going to be talking about Shador, but I do want to give other props and, highlights to the number one pick, Cam Ward. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit where it's due. Um, I did watch the some of the film. Uh, he looked a little bit. It looked off the first quarter, but the second quarter he picked it up. You could see that uh, Cam Ward, or not Cam Ward, but Calvin Ridley really did look like his favorite target. Connected with him multiple times. He did have limited snaps, but I mean that comes with the cost of him being your quarterback one for the future. So um I hope we get to see more of him next week. And hopefully that me and Inside the Locker Room will cover more of the game next week of Cam's Ward's debut. But the second team I want to jump to is the Giants. We saw Jackson Dart finally get his debut. Um, he's behind Wilson and Winston, which I think is good for him. He needs to sit and learn and really get to learn and develop the game from sitting behind these two veterans who have the experience. Um, I think that he had amazing performance and yeah, 12 for 19, 154 yards and a touchdown, which is pretty solid. I think all the quarterbacks, well, majority of the first round quarterbacks, I got to look at it more, but majority of the first round quarterbacks, they looked sharp out there. They had their little troubles, but you know, they look good. And I'm going to talk about Shador. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to talk about it towards the end, but I want to highlight these other players and other teams that are not getting as much love. As much as I support and want Shador to do well, I think it's right that we only show and support to these other teams. But yeah, so the Giants, they won 34-25. Each of the other quarterbacks, got a possession, but Jackson Dart, quarterback three on the depth chart right now, went 12 for 19, 154 yards and a touchdown. As a Cowboys fan, I don't want to see Jackson Dart in the future because I know that he can probably possibly become, another Eli Manning for the Giants, if everything progresses well. But that's not to say like, hey, the the Giants aren't going to do well or anything. But I just think time will come for Jackson Dart. Will not saying, but also let me see. Browns versus the Panthers. That's the story that everybody's talking about. Shador got the start. Been going with the quarterback. Was quarterback four in the depth chart a few weeks ago when it was named. And let me see. Yeah, he was quarterback four, but he's been running not with the first team. And I've been preaching all offseason like I want to see Shador, perform more with get more first team reps. And I've always say this, I think he was poised to fail. He was just set up in a weird wonky draft situation. But he's always stayed humble and he made best of what he got. And we saw that in last week's game or last weekend's game. 14 for 23, 138 yards, two touchdowns, and 60% completion rate. Uh, 60% completion rate. Also to mention that the Browns did have, I'm not the Browns, but the Panthers did have their starters out there. So, hey, I think that's something that you gotta like at least take note of, like, because he hasn't been running with the first teamers in practice and in training camp, and you see what he did against a first team defense. Let's hope that he can do it again next week against the Eagles, because the Eagles also do have a pretty good defense and a bunch of young pieces on that team. And I keep saying, I'm gonna mention this later, but I'm gonna mention my teams and games to watch later. But I keep saying I think the Browns need to take note of what Shador is doing and really just say like, hey, give him more first team reps and we go from there and then decide the depth chart. Because I think every quarterback on that roster has a case to be QB1. Even as much as I like them, every quarterback has a case to be QB1. I think Shador is being put in the wrong situation since he can't perform, with the quarterback ones. But hopefully they'll see that next week. Um, Cowboys update. Cowboys lost 31-21, and I'm wearing the Micah Parsons jersey because they need to pay Parsons. Uh, the longer he sits out, I mean, he's not getting any actual padded reps in with the team. He's just sitting there on the sidelines. And a lot of players wouldn't even come to training camp, but he's still at training camp. So, I mean, Jerry need to get something done with Micah Parsons. I can't keep going day after day after day wondering when he will get resigned, or not resigned, but get extended. I'm hoping it's in the next few coming days. But looking at the game, they lost 31-21 to the Rams. The defense did look off. I mean, I didn't watch the game live, but I got to watch parts and clips of it. And the defense was just looked off. It didn't look how you would, expect it to look. And that's, yes, because the starters weren't playing, but you still expect these players to play up to what they're like named. And Andrew Booth is one player I think about. We traded for him last year and he just looked horrible in the game. Um, and he's only sliding down the depth chart. He was supposed to be our cornerback three, cornerback four in the depth chart, but he's looking like he may not even make the roster from his play. He's been getting cooked all training camp, and in the game, he just got exposed and obliterated. But another cornerback I want to mention, and I can't pronounce the name, but it's Izzy. He is really, really starting to shine. He's still a young player. He's gotten reps in during the regular season. He's always shown flashes, and now he made a pick in the game. I think he should get more reps going into next preseason's game because he needs to be a player that's on the field come the regular season. Um, I want to talk about Joe Milton. Yes. I see a lot of people and a lot of Cowboys fans saying like, "Oh, Joe Milton was a wasted pick," or "We didn't need to get Joe Milton. Like he doesn't live up to it." I will say this: he's still young. He just went from a whole different system in New England to a whole new system in Dallas. And yes, he will make mistakes, but he's eventually gonna get the groove of it. I would say give him the start again next week and see how it goes from there. Um, Let me see. Yeah, he took 59% of the 59 snaps, so he took majority of the snaps, and he could have did better. He looked like the accuracy and the ball placement looked off. I know I read that he missed a wide open receiver, and he was struggling just to stare down receivers. Um, I believe that I fully believe that Milton can get it done. I believe that he can live up to the name, and he wants to be in Dallas. So I know he's going to put in the work to get better for the Cowboys. And eventually, when Dak is gone, he can step up and take that quarterback one role. But hey, I really have all faith in him. I would just say stop, counting him out so early. And let's say Malik Davis, he's in a crowded corner, not cornerback, but running back room. We got Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams and Jadon Blue, Phil Maffa, and Malik Davis. And sadly, he's the odd man out. I've always been a fan of Malik Davis ever since, a few years ago. He's always shown flashes for the team, but I just believe that just the Cowboys running back room has not been good, so he always gets a short end of the stick because the Cowboys see that they need to pick up other better players. And I would like for him to stay on the Cowboys, but if it means that he needs to go to a team that will give him more reps and give him more time to shine, I really do hope what's best for him. Tyler Booker was a healthy scratch. He was one of the few starters actually not to start. A lot of starters started, and then a lot of first round picks started, and then the ones that were hurt sat out. But he was the only healthy scratch, and this is a continuous streak that the Cowboys do not start their starters. And I mean, it comes with a good and a positive because you want to see your starters play. You want to see like these other teams, they're playing their starters. You're getting to see a quick look at them, and a quick glance at them. Um, Cowboys are the only team that still just doesn't play their starters. And as much as I hate it, I also got to see from the positive side because like, hey, our players aren't getting hurt. I can never forget when Tony Romo got hurt against the Seahawks, and I just saw that in the preseason. And I just guess Dallas doesn't want a repeat of that. But at the same time, we don't get to see these true flashes against these young players, true flashes against these other teams. But and I think I would like for him to get some, at least like one drive or two drives because week one, for instance, Tyler Booker, week one, they're playing the Eagles, who had possibly one of the best defenses in the league. and him just not getting no reps, and then he has to come in and play a overly and oh my an insane defense from the Eagles. As much as I hate to say it, it's not going to be the best for him if that's your first go. Um, Trayshawn Holden is another Cowboys player I do want to mention really quick before we end this. Yes, I have been high on him. Like a lot of people didn't really know who he was, and I was trying to tell him like, hey, he's a really good receiver out of Oregon. And yes, Ted Johnson did get a lot of love. Trayshawn Holden could have got more, but he did get a lot of love from Oregon Ducks fans. I do know that. Um, and like Coach Schottenheimer said that he did have a great performance in the game, and he's been having an amazing training camp. And he's only going to keep going up the depth chart, and eventually he's going to make the. I think he's going to make the roster. A lot of people should keep an eye on Trayshawn Holden. He can be that speedy receiver that you need, and eventually, I feel like he can be that wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 that we need. But this Cowboys wide receiver room is more crowded than you think. Behind George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, and C.D. Lamb, we got Jonathan Mingo, and that we traded for. We got a lot more receivers that I just can't name off the top of my head. I gotta look at it later, but it's a lot more receivers in that crowded wide receiver room. And the race who's gonna make the wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 5 is gonna be interesting because right now we already got I think we got the 1, 2, and 3 locked behind CD, Pickens, and Tolbert. But like I think he's gonna make Trayshawn Holden can make the roster, and I think he can be a really big important piece on this Cowboys offense. The next game is against the Ravens. Hey, Cowboys always have their struggles in the preseason, so I'm not really too much worried about if they win or lose. I just want to see how these individual players play. Like Joe Milton, I'm hoping that he gets a better opportunity, not a better opportunity, but he makes more of this opportunity, and really gets to find the groove. Because in the fourth quarter, it did look like he started to find the groove of things. They were calling plays that they caught at training camp, and he's starting to find, swing in a groove. So hopefully next game against Baltimore, and it's at home. I don't know if that means much in the preseason, but hey, hopefully he's not against opposing fan base, and he can really relax and stay calm under pressure a little bit more. I want to see some more Trayshawn Holden, like I said, and I want to see some more Malik Davis. Those are probably the 3 players that I'm just watching. This preseason because I want them players to make the roster. If Malik Davis is to make the roster, I would love to see him on the practice squad. I think he's too valuable of a piece to let go. But and I know we didn't talk about Travis Hunter. I am not going to lie, I did not watch too much of him. I tried to watch as much like footage as possible, but I didn't get as much as I thought I would. But I would say this: my next few games to look forward to are the Jags versus Saints. The Jags versus Saints next week. We get to see more of Tyler Show, and we get to see more of Travis Hunter. You know, Tyler Show did. He started off with the pick, but he did make up for it, and he did. Settle down. That QB race between him and Spencer Rattler is going to be very, very interesting. Um, I don't like I said before, Arch Manning isn't entering the draft. He already came out and basically said it. But if Saints fans still think he's gonna enter the draft, I don't think he is. So I think they need to get used to who's gonna be the quarterback one for the next year or two behind Spencer Rattler or Tyler Show. But they both perform near the same in my opinion. Uh, Tyler Show is a one player that as much as I wasn't high on him, I still want him to succeed. As always, I don't hate on players. I always want the best for them. So I want the best for Tyler Show, but the quarterback race is just by far in between this. That's just one of the races that like, hey, I'm just stuck in the middle because I want to see Spencer Rattler start, but I also want to see Tyler Show succeed. A lot of people, including myself, I'm not scared to say that I did not like the pick. I wanted Shador to go to the Saints or the Raiders, but it didn't happen, sadly. But they got Tyler Show, so they need to make do with it. But yeah, so my next 3 games I would say to look forward to, and in the comment section, y'all can let me know the games that y'all are interested in looking forward to. But I got the Jags and the Saints. I want to see, like I said, more Tyler Show, and I want to see Travis Hunter. I'm actually going to watch it this time. 2, I probably give to the Browns and the Eagles. Um, it's a lot of haters out there saying like, oh, they're trying to move the goalpost for Shador, and he performed well. And okay, you know, let him perform against let him play against the Eagles and let him get the start against the Eagles. hopefully they play some of their starters so he can get a feel for it. Um, I obviously want the best for Shador any way possible, and I think if he can do well this game, the Browns front office needs to take a look at saying, "Hey, if we're not going to let him get quarterback, if we're not going to let him be the quarterback one, quarterback two, quarterback three, let him at least get some more quarterback one reps in training, not training camp, but in practice, so we can see what he looks like against these starters. And then also, I want to see the Cowboys and the Ravens. Like I said, Trayshawn Holden, Malik Davis, uh, Joe Milton. Those are the three players on the Cowboys that I really want to watch and look forward to. Hopefully, Tyler Booker can get some, reps in because, like I said before, I don't want him to come week one and he just look, out of there and it don't look the best. I would really hope that he's not set up for failure. I kind of think that uh Cowboys O line is, in my opinion, they're a big question. They're still young. They're a young O line. We don't got Zach Martin no more, so and Tyler Booker is supposed to be the replacement. So I really, really, really want to see how this works out. But make sure y'all stay tuned and for Inside the Locker Room this week. I'll be on later this week talking some more football, some more baseball, and yes, my power rankings have changed. Sadly, although the Blue Jays did win the last game, they still lost the series. So, and a lot of people said I was crazy for putting, the Dodgers over the Blue Jays. But hey, like I feel like I know the better team when I see one. But my power rankings for baseball change weekly, so stay tuned for that. And make sure you follow the socials. You like, comment, subscribe on all the Instagrams, YouTube, TikTok. Sorry, I'm trying to run a fast train and think everything right now. And thank you for watching.